Welcome to the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. Just me and Jim right now, but don't worry, Matthew is on his way. He is busy talking to coaches for the All Caps Almanac, fella, Jim and fellas out there, which is back this season, Volume 2 of the Almanac. We're going to talk about it a little bit today. We're trying to wait for Matt to get on before we dive into details. I was just reading before we went live officially here that Mike Meadows has committed to SLU. That's news to me, as I just talked to Travis Ford last week, and that was not on the radar. So now I need to do a little tinkering with my SLU roster, and might text the old ball coach, Jim, and get his opinion on him.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to that, Kai, because Meadows was a curious case for me where he left Cal seemingly on the heels of the Pac-12 news and the fact that Cal's not going to be a part of it, but I'm pretty sure he's a grad guy or fifth year guy that only has 1 year left. So like, why does he care?
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like that probably wasn't the reason. I don't know if he was poached or what was going on there, but hey, that's a big boost for SLU. One of my brother's best friends is as big a diehard SLU fan as I know, and he is unbelievably pessimistic. Like I've never heard him like this. He wants SLU relegated to Division II. Man, yeah, we're coming in hot here, Kai, with the news. You're really jumping the gun on the roundup. Look at you.
I know I am. Well, this just happened a couple minutes ago, so that's why I was like, oh, top of mind. Did the SLU preview for the Almanac. But yes, welcome to the show. Normal intro here. Episode 315. We're getting up there. We're getting older as a podcast and hopefully wiser. We are streaming on YouTube currently. If you're listening in just audio form, please check us out there sometime. It's not fancy, but you get to see our faces and get the show as it's happening. So maybe a little bit quicker if you're interested in that sort of thing, Jim.
We make so many visual jokes, a lot of visual gags that you just miss out on in the audio medium. Like I made a face when Kai said we're getting wiser, and you know what? Maybe we're not getting wiser. So you get that added element. You get to join in the chat with Pat and Coach Hastings and all the other gems in there. So yeah, Kai, why not?
It's a good crew. We got Roots Roundup today, per usual, our little news and notes section. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to talk about the Almanac a little bit, which is available for pre-order. More details coming up on this show. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about non-conference scheduling. Some big events that are coming up this season, all the MTEs, some of the bigger games, the non-conference slate that we can look forward to, start to break down. Can't wait to get into actual breakdowns later on, but it is still August, unfortunately. Subscribe to the podcast if you would on iTunes and Spotify. We are at 3MW_CBB on Twitter and Instagram. Give us follows, please and thank you. And please leave us reviews. The 5-star variety are the best types. We have 3 new reviews to read today. First off, from Coach Hastings, a chat mob member here in the chat. He says, Smartest Hoops pod, consistently the most informative pod with the deepest knowledge. The Weave constantly show off their brilliance, which was done once again with their epic Jeopardy episode. Russell definitely crushed it with the categories. He certainly did. Great job by Russell as Trebek once again. He said it might be our best episode yet. And Coach Hastings, I kind of agree. I love those Jeopardy episodes. They're the most fun that I have during the podcast. And I know Jim and Matt most likely feel the same way. He also took Matt at plus 10,000 odds to win that episode. So he's asking where to cash that out. He'd even settle for plus 5,000, which is what Matt set his odds at. Jim, can he cash out with you?
No, because Kai, the integrity of the game was compromised by predetermined categories. And you know what? You said that's always the most fun episode of the year. Not for me, Kai. Not for me. They ruined it. They ruined it. No, it's great. I love it. It's great to have Russ put in the incredible amount of time that he does. I researched a stat for a preview I wrote the other day that was said by a coach. And I was like, all right, well, I should probably verify this before I put it in there. And even that took a while. And Russ is doing that for a bunch of different stuff in terms of categories and hosting that. So always a tip of the cap to him. Sorry, Coach Hastings, you might have to not cash that in. I apologize.
Review 2. Thanks for the review, by the way. The Xavier Professor, a great name, by the way. The Xavier Professor, a little take on Professor X, Professor Xavier with the X-Men, getting into the superhero nerd stuff. He says, podcast of champions, and also rip to the Pac-12. We will do a little bit more bigger discussion on realignment. Next episode is the plan currently right now, but we'll see. He says, longtime listener, first time reviewer, best podcast on the net. Heck yeah. Any chance we get a college basketball fantasy draft episode? I think we kind of did that last year, but we didn't actually keep score. And I wonder if we can like do an easy way to just like keep track during the year and like a points, rebounds, assist type of thing, Jim. Not sure if that's worth it, but not a bad idea from Mr.
Yeah,
Xavier.
and I mean, I don't even know if he's talking like a preview kind of thing, where even if it's not our own league,
Could be
like oh hey, we have a bunch of people out there that play it. Let's give them some thoughts on rankings. That might be worthwhile, where there's actually content that's going to last. And fantasy is, of course, very popular. Maybe not in terms of college hoops compared to the NFL or anything, but I'm kind of intrigued by that idea, Kai. Trying to figure out some of the guys that maybe are undervalued in terms of fantasy, but I also, I don't know what the kind of leagues are out there. Are they all points, rebounds, assists? Are there like 2 points for blocks and steals, points for threes? I don't know.
There's a lot of daily, daily betting player, but like, your like a DraftKings style of thing that they do for college basketball, which I've tried a few times. It's harder than it seems. You think as if a guy that follows college basketball would be able to crush it, but there's game theory involved and stuff that I just don't understand. But anyways, Xavier Professor also says, does adding a guy like, I'm going to ruin the name, Jim, Gytis Nemeksa from Lithuania. He asks,
I'm okay with that
he's
pronunciation.
joining
that
Xavier's,
pretty solid.
Thank you. He's joining Xavier's team this year. Will it help fill the hole left by Jerome Hunter? Jim, we don't really know much about him, but we understand he's doing pretty well in the foreign tour right now.
Yeah, they just kind of got kicked off over there, and he's obviously getting a big opportunity with no Hunter at this point. I was surprised that he is an international transfer, Kai. You don't see that very often. It's pretty much always these guys that are coming across the pond are coming in as freshmen, and they take a little while to get their feet wet. But he's been playing for Zalgiris' second team, I believe is what I saw on his bio. So he's got a little bit of that professional experience. Perhaps that's going to help. I just am always wary with relying on those guys immediately. I think we talked about it a little on the pod before. It just kind of seems like it takes a little while to get used to the different kind of game, but even like the size of the lane is different. The shot clock's, I think, different compared to over there. So just a little bit of an adjustment period, but hey, it's nice to have somebody with the potential to fill that spot, because Hunter was very, very vital down the stretch last year.
And speaking of that, a discussion we had about foreign players coming into college basketball for the first year, this next review is related to that. He says, it's from Ben in Arizona. It says, best college basketball podcast. Love the pod. Great info as always. He says the best European player who was great in year one might be Lauri Markkanen, the marksman. He says, don't disrespect the finisher.
Good. And he dropped my nickname, the marksman.
The finisher's pretty good. He
did not drop you dropped my, you dropped. Nickname. Dang his it, nickname, Kai. You got me so excited.
His nickname, the finisher, is pretty good as well. Finisher with 2 N's. He's finish. Yeah.
And he does dunk a little more now, which finish, I think of emphatic with that. But marksman is like, it really underscores, marksman with 2 Ks for the record.
Yes, which
really underscores the style. Yeah.
He says, as an Arizona fan, I'm excited to get to the Big 12. How do you think Arizona will do? I think a tougher conference will be better. Will better prepare Arizona for March, but also worried about how it'll affect our recruiting in California. Well, I hate realignment, Jim, but I can't lie that Arizona to the Big 12 intrigues me from a basketball perspective. Clearly, they're an amazing program. I think it'll be just fine competing in the conference. Going to make it better.
Yeah, it's going to be fun battling for titles in there, with as long as Kelvin Sampson is there, and perhaps Kellen Sampson continuing on that dominance at Houston. It's going to be a long way from the days, Kai, where Kansas won like 15 straight. They're still going to rock, KU fans. That's not what I'm saying, but like it feels like the elite level competition at the top of the conference has stiffened lately with the way Baylor has gotten, and Chris Beard coming to town. And now you add Arizona, you add Houston. It's going to be fantastic. I'm not too worried about the California recruiting, because even the California schools are going to be playing across the country too. At least the primary ones with UCLA and USC. So I think they'll still do just fine there. And we know Tommy Lloyd's got international connections for days, so they'll be okay.
Yeah, recruiting's just not regional anymore. It's countrywide, obviously, and international as well. I will say I love the Arizona KU like flirtation going on with fans. Both bases appear to be embracing the future games between these two squads. They're going to be pretty epic. I am excited about that.
Yeah, going to be fantastic games. I forget, maybe I don't. If it was somebody replying to me or texting me, it was like, we need this game twice a year, Arizona, Kansas. I was like, hopefully. Sure. I have absolutely no qualms with that happening constantly. Yeah. We do lose Arizona, UCLA, a rivalry that had kind of picked up big time lately, but I'll take Arizona, Kansas. I think we can develop some bad blood there pretty quick.
Absolutely. Okay, like I said, we're going to talk about the Almanac, but we're going to try to wait for Matt. In the meantime, let's get to Roots Roundup.
Yeah, let's talk Roots Roundup, Kai. A little news and notes section here. We do want to talk a little realignment. We're going to holster that to the end of the roundup again, just in case Matt jumps in and wants to offer some takes there, just given the demise of the Pac-12. But Kai, we got a couple of recruits to mention here, and this is great. We get to have a little Mizzou party without Mr. Mateo. Top 55 recruit. Yeah, top 55. I'm stretching that. Number 55 recruit.
Not wrong.
Marcus Allen, small forward, headed to Mizzou. Kai, it kind of a fun little scouting report on him. Reads like an absurd athlete, great defender that might not be a great shooter. Yeah. Do I hear Leonard Hamilton, Florida State echoes?
Yes, you do, Jim. And that, I think, is what I'm most excited about. If Dennis Gates wants to turn Mizzou into the Florida State teams that were perennial contenders in the ACC and getting 3 to 5 seeds in the NCAA tournament every year and pumping out pros, sign me up. I'm in for it, Jim. Mizzou.
Yeah, I mean, big time. CY Young is hopefully starting to really heat up on the recruiting trail. I believe both their incoming recruits are known for defense and how much they get after on that side of the ball. So
it's our weekend last year.
Fun. Yeah, very much a weekend. The other recruit to commit, 4-star shooting guard Liam Campbell, headed to USC Trojans, as we just mentioned, heading to the Big Ten, joining that parade out of the Pac-12. Not affecting their recruiting, at least at this point. Andy Enfield has been fantastic at that ever since he arrived all the way out in the City of Angels. So Liam Campbell, just another top 100 addition to his recruiting. Some other random news and notes, Kai, before we circle back to realignment. Anthony Harris, former UNC guard, who was supposed to be at Rhode Island last year. Is that right?
Yes.
He is headed to an NAIA school. And this also syncs with Josh LeBlanc, who started at Georgetown, played at LSU, was supposed to be at Nichols last year. He's headed to LSU Shreveport. So it does kind of seem like these guys are, trickling down the levels, despite even some high talent levels. So, the portal can help everybody.
Why is this? Is this academic related? Is this I don't understand. No disrespect to the NAIA level, but Anthony Harris was a top 100 recruit. He could play for any mid-major or low major in the country and get more eyes than NAIA, be a conference player of the year somewhere, maybe if he went low enough. Everyone has their own reasons, but just curious.
Maybe he just wants to be a star of stars. He's like, if I can't average 25 a game, I don't want to play there. I would imagine he could shred a guy that initially went to North Carolina playing NAIA is scary.
Yes. Yeah, and Archie Miller, I talked to him last year. He was expecting Harris to be a pretty big part of Rhode Island last season before he was ineligible. I think academic was the reasons for him being ineligible, but not entirely positive on that one.
Yep. Kai, we've got international trip results starting to roll in. One of our favorite things to overreact to as we go through the summer here. Couple to mention in terms of losses. Houston dropped a big one to Australia by 34. I'll before I even go into that one, I'll also mention a couple. Kansas lost to the Bahamas national team. Memphis dropped one to, I believe, the Dominican Republic national team.
They did.
All of these teams are playing with like NBA players. Like the one Kansas lost to had Buddy Hield and Eric Gordon playing fairly big minutes. Australia is like preparing for Olympic qualifiers, so they've got all kinds of pros on the team.
Yes.
Definitely need to contextualize all these. Playing these national teams that are like truly gearing up for meaningful games is different than playing the Madrid All-Stars or whatever.
Yeah, this Australian team is like legit. Unfortunately, the box score doesn't show the players for Australia, but I know Josh Giddey was on the team, Patty Mills, Matisse Tybel, I'm pretty sure, Dante Exum, I think, was on this team. These are.
I think Delhi, Kai. I think Delhi played on that team.
Yeah, probably Della Vadova. Oh my gosh, Della Vadova.
There it is.
Just tell them Delhi. This team's legit. So not surprised Houston got smacked. They're a college team. I'm looking more so. LJ Cryer has put up some pretty big stats for Houston already in this foreign tour. Seems like he's going to translate pretty well from a scoring aspect to them, which is great.
Yeah, a great fit in after they lost Marcus Sasser, like the pull-up shooting that they need. I mean, they're always going to be fantastic on the offensive boards, but you need some first shot makers, and Cryer really gives them that. But Kai, maybe it's his fault that they gave up a bajillion points. You know, that was always
Part of it.
the knock on Baylor's defense. But we talked about that, I think, on last episode, that we're not super worried about that.
Yeah.
Pat Taylor in the chat, RIP Dante Exum. Guys, I was so high on Dante Exum when he came out.
A lot of
That was
people,
the year
yeah.
the Bucks had the number 2 pick with Jabari Parker. And I was like,
Mm.
we could take Exum. That'd be fine with me.
Probably would have
And
been equally as, I guess Parker was pretty good for a couple of years, wasn't he?
he was all right, but he tore 2 ACLs. He didn't get they did not give him a second contract off the rookie deal. So it's not like that pick worked out very well either.
Jabari Parker from second pick overall to watching our rec games in Chicago. Jim.
Yeah. I believe he just signed us in a broad deal. I think I saw a Woj tweet about that. He was almost on the Bucks Summer League roster this year before a late change. So, all right. Shout out to Jabari. Okay, Kai, no Mateo yet. So we move into a little realignment discussion. We'll debrief on exactly what happened over the past week, kind of talk about what we think it means for the Pac-12. Arizona State, and Utah are headed to the Big 12, joining Colorado. That was the most recent exodus there. That now makes 16 teams in the Big 12. And Washington and Oregon also departing the Pac-12. They're headed to the Big 10. That league now has 18 teams. You add in USC, UCLA. Keep in mind the SEC also about to go to 16 with Texas and Oklahoma joining. Hey, perfect time for Matt to pop in here. Nice. We'll catch him up as we continue going through this. So yeah, SEC up to 16. And Kai, that leaves the Pac-12 with 4 teams remaining. Cal and Stanford, I saw were in talks to possibly join the ACC. There's whispers about merging with the Mountain West, but how much does that value really add to the Mountain West?
Yeah.
Mostly it just leaves the Wazoo Cougars and Matthew, your Peyton heads.
And me, the 6th member of the Pac-12, just my organization.
Yeah. Oregon State kind of in the lurch, trying to figure out where to go from here. I'll go to Kai first because he's actually been on the pod, and maybe Matt's a little, getting his feet on the ground still. Kai, what do you make of this in terms of the Pac-12? Like, just truly probably dead, gone forever.
Sucks. I might just be a simpleton and dumb, but I don't know why a conference wants 18 teams and why other teams in that conference want that many teams. Doesn't that hurt? I guess it's all volume anyways, and it scales up, but I would think cuts into revenue if you're sharing that much. Maybe not. Maybe I'm stupid. Don't make fun of me. That's just too much to navigate 18 teams, but whatever. It's happened. We can go more in detail next week or whatever we want to break it down. Pac-12, what I think they should do, merge with the Mountain West. Like we kind of said, I guess Cal and Stanford going to the ACC. Nothing makes sense anymore. I don't know. You can tell I'm kind of up in arms at Matt about this stuff.
Yeah. Hey, I am too. And we've thrown shade at the Pac-12. But I want to be very clear. That shade is directed at the general, broader, casual fan base in the region of the West Coast. But yeah, the beloved Peyton heads, the diehard scattered throughout, I don't know, LA, La La Land, Arizona, Washington, all that stuff. Yeah, it stinks. I think the Mountain West merger makes way too much sense. I hope they go that route. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but it's just the forces are too big for any one school to thwart themselves. So it's like, if you point a finger, you can't point a finger at any one person. You have to point a finger at just like the tectonic shifting of the plates that have been moving for like the last 10 years now. I mean, the Larry Scott was a disaster, and yeah, the whole leadership there's been a disaster, but there was stuff that was in motion before they even took the helm that was probably moving them to where this outcome is right now.
It every time that they have released like a PR media thing as another event has happened, it's read just like if Custer before his last stand had been like, we're fine. I don't even good. Worry, like we're gonna be just fine. We're relying on everybody to take care of it. And it's just it's bleak. As we alluded to at the end of last week, hoping to have a big guest related to said realignment. Still trying to nail down a time for next week to get that particular person on. I think that would be a lively discussion among many other topics. It won't just be realignment. Don't worry about that. But I think it'll be a good perspective, assuming we're able to make that happen. Kai, I have a big 3-man weave related question about this.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to do divisions for scheduling in basketball the way they've done in football. But like, if we do an 18-team conference preview, it's going to be 2.5 hours. And I think we're going to have to split like the Big Ten A and Big Ten B. I was thinking about this while listening to one of the Action Network's SEC previews today, like splitting by divisions. Oh, man, that gives us extra content. I almost love it, Kai. That's huge.
Extra content is great. They have to go to the divisions. I guess they don't have to, but it's like 18 teams. You cannot even play everybody once in a season. It doesn't make any sense, especially football, guys, right? Like, isn't this wild? It's like conference is just a name. You're not playing most of the teams in this league. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's going to be the dumb thing where like, okay, there used to be 22 combined teams in these two conferences and they played separately. Well, now they're in the same conference, but they're going to play in divisions and be separate anyways.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, the divisions are just going to replace the conferences. That's all we're going to have. So we'll have the same number of clusters. They'll just be clusters, silos within silos. To bring it back to my favorite TV show of the year, yeah.
Matt, will the silos be geographically based, or are they going to be like the alpha squads and the beta squads? Like, how are they going to do that? Football obviously they're going to try to gear up for a championship game, but like I have no idea what they're going to do for basketball. Like how they're going to try to sort that out. It's a mess.
I hope they try and do something abstract like the Big Ten did with leaders and legends. Like who are the established brands, and then we'll put some kind of abstract label on them, and we'll put the other up and comers over here, and then people will go up in arms about that, and there'll be bad blood because of that. So that we need more of that. If that can actually drum up some fake rivalries that we're now missing because of all this crap, then I'm on board with it. That's fine. Cool.
Last week I talked about this briefly with Titus on his podcast. Want your guys' quick take on it. Our conference title is just going to mean nothing anymore because like they're going to be entirely schedule based. It's like, all right, well, we played Arizona, Kansas, and Houston twice, and you played UCF, K-State. I don't want to throw anybody else under the bus. Sorry, UCF, but like you get what I'm saying. Like the schedules in all of these leagues are going to be so monstrously tilted that like it's just going to feel a little less valuable, or it should be. What do you think, Matthew?
It depends. I think you'll find some goalpost moving with those who have success early in certain regards will certainly try and beat their chest over conference championships and banners. Others will probably just throw it to the.
I was going to say Duke gets its wish.
Duke
gets its wish.
Good for
Suddenly
us.
Regular season matters less.
Good for us.
Yeah, conference tournaments all that matters now for Duke and everybody else in power leagues.
Yeah, I still can't believe from the Jeopardy episode that the Big Ten took so long to enact a conference tournament. Here they are racing to money now, and at that point they're like, let's avoid making money on a tournament. Bizarre. Any final thoughts on realignment here, Kai? You've got a quote in the outline here.
Real quick here. I just got off the phone with Shane Burkhardt, head coach of NAU. That's why I was late to this program. They have no comment on their prospective Pac-12 move, so nothing official on that front. So
That's good stuff. So you should talk. We'll talk about the Almanac soon, but you should talk about the Mountain Time Zone, Matt. That'd be interesting. Brian
Arizona,
Dutcher,
figure out your time zones. Kai, go ahead.
Brian Dutcher, coach of San Diego State, he had a quote on realignment. I just think that sports should be played regionally.
I mean, yes, that's I agree. I just think we should all agree the sky is blue. Like it makes way too much sense, but unfortunately that does not seem to be the case. Definitely not going to be the case going forward, at least until this, like at some point, Kai, this method is going to like reach a like critical mass, and then they're going to like simmer back down to regional leagues. It's going to happen at the end of some super TV deals in 40 years, and it'll all get sorted out. All right, that's Roots Roundup. I'm going to kick it over to Matt because he is actually technically the host of this episode, even though he ended up joining late. And we're going to talk about the Almanac, Matthew, because it's back, the all caps Almanac, and no one is a bigger cheerleader than you yourself, Matthias.
I am. The pom-poms are out on Twitter, Jimbo. I've actually done 2 tweets today on the Almanac. That's 2 and counting. Jeff Goodman, Rob Douster. So make sure you take note of that. It's our volume 2. There's no official title brand theme this year. Last year was too perfect. The first year we had at the inaugural season, we had the year of the big. But this season, just volume 2, which is kind of cool. Like an NBA Street volume 2 type thing. I worry in year 10 where we're going to go with this. I think we're going to run out of creative avenues here, but so far so good in year 2.
Yeah. Well, you see it with movies sometimes with sequel names, they get a little bit lazy. Rambo, for instance, First Blood Part 1, First Blood Part 2, and then Rambo 3. So they kind of went that route, Matt.
Yeah, I like all the Rambos.
You throwing out shade at like Mission Impossible right now, like Dead Reckoning Part 1. Like they can't even come up with weird. 2 more titles.
I love MIs. I think some of the titles have gotten a little bit too corny lately. I do believe that.
I just don't like Part 1, Part 2 titling. I can't remember if we ranted about that on here or not. I feel like I've yelled about it recently.
Aliens. Fantastic. Great
sequel name. But you've heard the pitch on that, right?
What's that?
The pitch James Cameron made in the like off or whatever the conference room
to
about
not call it Aliens.
No, it was called Alien, and he was going to pitch the sequel to Alien, and he walks in, he writes Aliens on the board, but then turns the S into a $sign, and they just were like, "Yep, go ahead, make it whatever you want to do." That is all we need to hear.
Fantastic.
Aliens with a $sign.
But it is volume 2 for us, for the Almanac, Matthew.
Volume 2.
Hey,
new format this season. It's going to be, well, we should say, new but old format will be somewhat preserved in terms of how you can access it. But the new format is like a website, basically, right? Like KenPom, like any subscription you're used to using, which I think is more comfortable for most people. And also the massive PDF files tend to take up just an absolute swath of your memory. At least on my computer, wasn't always the fastest loading. So we are going to do a little more of a user-friendly, at least we hope, format this year with that release. So
yes,
yes, Kai, you may.
If I may pitch this, because admittedly a non like magazine format kind of turned me off at first for this version.
Yep.
But I think the major issue we had last season with the Almanac was navigation of the actual PDF.
Yes.
We didn't have like fancy links going to teams and stuff like that. In this website format, it's basically what it is. It's very clear. It's separated by conference. It's national content. It's very easy to get places. And it's still going to look really good on the mobile app. It's still going to be formatted very nicely into team previews. And it's still going to be the same amount of words and coach quotes and all that good stuff you saw last year, just in a more easy to use format.
Yep. We're hoping that, yes, the navigation stuff, Kai, for sure. I think obviously one thing behind the scenes that us three really push back is like, oh, we want offline compatibility or offline usability. Because like if somebody goes on a flight or ends up in a place without internet, or they're just like sitting on their couch and they want to not have to worry about that, we're hoping to maybe have some like offline versions. They're going to look a lot less pretty, but you can download like a conference at a time or something to go take on your flight, and you read through the Colonial on your 2-hour flight from Sacramento to Denver. I don't know, wherever you're headed. One other small pitch to this, and we haven't really talked about this. This is just me kind of going a little rogue here, but this at least sets the bar or gets it potentially going where we could have some of the like screenshots and GIFs and stuff that we use so much on our website and our previews in the past, where that's just impossible to do with a PDF or a hard copy magazine. This at least maybe gives us that potential in the future to evolve into that. Again, that's down the road, not something that we're really doing this year, but I think that was something that was popular, and being able to have a visual like, hey, they use this guy in dribble handoffs. Here's like an example of it and how good he is going off a handoff. I think that's always nice to add a little visual aid, and at least we might have the potential to do that in the future with this format.
I'll add to that too, Jim. I'll continue your rogue theme. I like the idea of being able to like make potential like last second, like, major roster updates. Like you release the PDF, but when it's out, it's out there, right? Like you can't go back and amend like a 9th hour NCAA waiver clearance, which is going to be more and more common going forward, especially this season. So yeah, things like that, where you can actually, make it more of a live document. Not that we're going to update it throughout the year per se, but at least it gives you more flexibility. I agree with that, again, without sacrificing some of the PDF benefits, which you really step back and think about it, like, I don't know what is it really? Maybe it looks all the way pretty, like it from a design perspective, but I think we'll have most, if not all of that with the with the website. So
I think collectors kind of like having the one thing in one place.
Yeah.
People that have, like 20 blue ribbons
one
in a row or
location.
something.
Sure.
I get that. But then, yeah,
but without the hard copy, that's right. Like, what is it even? Does that even
when
really
you have
sustain?
one folder on your computer and it's taking up a terabyte of space with all our giant PDFs. So yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah, Matt, to Pat's point in the chat, don't go Chad Ford. Make sure we're editing, pointing out where we're editing on the website. If you make a change, I think that's going to be crucial. We don't want to compromise our integrity here.
Nah, my integrity's already been compromised. I'm just trying to get clout and get clicks. So I'm not sure if I'm going to adhere to that standard. Sorry, Pat. I will. In terms of, should we talk dates? Important dates.
Good call. Yes.
Release date is, drum roll, please.
September 20th.
I thought it was the 19th. That's why it was.
It's a week earlier than last year.
Earlier than last year. Pre-sale is happening now for $15.99. You can find the link on our Twitter. And a lot of people's Twitters out there that are working on the project. Field 68 heat check verbal commits. The price goes up to $19.99 on the 20th. So you save 20% by pre-ordering it. Then you'll have access to the Almanac on the 20th, and it'll be ready to go for you. It'll be fantastic.
I love saying you save 20% instead of $4. It just sounds better.
20% sounds huge.
Boom. That's huge.
Sounds enormous.
Hey, feel free to wait. We make more money if you wait, but if you want to spend less, go ahead and pre-order it now.
Yep. Final thoughts on that. I just think the where we landed behind the scenes was like, last year was really good. Let's not mess with that too much. If you liked it last year, you bought it last year, hardly anything is changing. Buy it this year.
Yes.
So it's sort of I think we very clearly wanted to make a first pitch to the core customers, the OGs who went into this guinea pig pond with us last year. So I'm excited we preserve that. It's important. So
Stories
go us and go people. I have a few pulled up here. I just kind of gave away a pretty funny. Burkhardt is hilarious, by the way. He has I guess when you talk to someone from Arizona, you're not expecting like kind of that Colorado, like mountainous accent. He kind of has a little bit of that to him. Because Flagstaff's a whole different world up there. But hilarious, dude. I'm trying to find a couple of my good ones here, guys. Sorry.
Where's the prep? Where's the prep from Mateo?
Where did it just go? I just had it.
He's probably got 74 documents open right now, and he's running a bunch of Excel processing schemes in the background.
Here's one. I talked to talking about a player who has been an enigma in his long and maybe not so illustrious track record in college. I'll paraphrase here. Basically saying, yeah, insert player needs to be the guy this year. He's 23 years old. It's time for him to step up and prove it. This is a mid-major conference in the horizon.
We're supposed to guess this.
Are you telling us
You're supposed to guess this? Yeah, I want you to guess this.
Oh, that's vague.
Say
Jim, this is Jim's sweet spot here. Jim, you've been a number one, I wouldn't say
Toledo
naysayer of his game, but this is Rocket Watts at Oakland. So that was pretty funny.
So you just talked to
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he won't rise to the occasion. And
Jim, the preview I wrote
from the previous 4 years.
Yeah, I go back and forth on how editorial I want to be in my previews. That one was a tough one because I kind of wanted to lean in there a little bit, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the 5th year in a row. So we'll see if Rocket takes off, Kai, if you blast off here in 2023.
Very good.
That is a challenge, Matthew, trying to figure out like, okay, I want to give you the optimistic view because it's going to be read by a fan. But like, and I've discussed with the coach and he's given me the optimistic view, but how much do I like say, but I don't buy it. Like that's, I try not to, use any of that in the pod, but hopefully, or in the writing, but there's like a degree of Matt, as I listen to the coach parsing his language to see how much he believes it.
Right.
When he's talking about a guy. Tough. And then the same with, as I write it, maybe try to say it in a way that like, this isn't likely, but it would help.
Right. Like there's guys who are just resounding optimists who think the 10th guy off the bench is going to be just a critical, indispensable piece this year. And I talked to Randy Bennett, And Bennett's almost called Kyle Bowen and Logan Johnson like not good offensive players, like trying to, I think, say that they are really good. Defense was kind of where they made their pay, but he kind of like said like, yeah, they're fine offensive players. It's like Logan Johnson being a fine offensive player next to 10th guy for insert mid-major team who's going to be a star this year. Very different coach decibels there. One more that was good.
Before you go, what's the highest 3-point percentage Rocket Watts has shot in his 4-year career?
I don't think he got over 30 one year. Didn't he ever 30? He's never been above 30, 33.
28.1 is a
28.
freshman.
One of every 4. Not terrible. Not great, but
that excludes the non-D1 game against Defiance last year where he shot 2 of 5. Maybe that bumped him up a little bit, but yeah.
Defiance, Downey soft zone they play there. So Rocket capitalized. I got just the way in which this coach said it was so like direct and blunt. And I appreciate it. Former power conference coach, now coaching in mid-major kingdom. Yeah, man, we got our butts absolutely kicked on the glass last year. We needed to address that. Did we? We'll see. But we sure as hell tried.
Can I guess?
No, I haven't talked. Steve Lavin was the only coach I did not talk to last year. I think he was one of like the 5 we didn't actually talk to because he couldn't get hold of him.
My guess is Travis Steele.
Travis Steele, Jimbo. Come on down.
Yeah.
National Ball Club this year. Yeah. I kind of thought they were actually not terrible. I thought they were pretty bad in the glass. They got my guy Anderson Marambo, who's just a round mound of glorious post awesomeness. So I'm excited to see him back this season. Other Almanac anecdotes.
Matt or Kai, do you find it refreshing when a coach is like fully like, we know expectations will be low, like pick us low, we're okay with it.
I love it.
It's great. It's like, oh, I can actually be kind of mean to this team. Like not mean, but like I can pick this team last and they're not going to be upset about it. They know it's going to be that way. Like for instance, VMI, their coach is very open about that. He's the same way last year, but they have 9 true freshmen and 2 guys that were hurt last year. Like the roster is completely changed over. And he's just like, yeah, I bet there's not been many teams ever that have played 9 true freshmen. So we know we're going to get picked low. And it's like, all right, I'm probably going to pick you 10th, mostly because he said that, but also because he had 9 freshmen.
I love it. Donnie Jones, great guy. Stetson coach. I apologize for lowballing him last year because Stetson was awesome. He goes, no. Pick us low again. I want to be picked near the bottom so I can overachieve again.
They had a picture of Kai's face on the locker room with that quote bubble coming out, and they drew like the devil horns and they threw eggs at you all year. So motivation, it's good.
Yes,
it works.
Indeed.
Matt, one funny one that I enjoyed. I got Dusty May last year and I transposed his number. So I called him at like the right time, but it didn't go through. And then he followed up with me and was like, hey, are you still calling me? And I messed that up like, for 30 minutes. Obviously they go to the Final Four. I don't know if that has to do with this year or if just because they went to the Final Four, but the SID sat in on the call this time. I was like,
oh, that's
is that
weird.
Because they don't trust me to get it right, or because he's so dang popular that, he just needs to make sure all that stuff is managed. I like thinking it was my fault. I joked about it on the call and
that's funny.
He absolved me of any responsibility. So it's okay.
Like the SID comes in and says, no, we're actually not taking questions on that front right now, but ask something else.
And I did have 2 SIDs sit on the call, which is a little bit weird, but whatever. They were even bigger names. Well, one guy was, but yeah, it's been really fun talking to these coaches, guys. It has. A pain to get them on the phone, but fun to talk to them.
Yeah, once they're on the phone and you're like getting a rhythm, you're like, oh, okay, I can just talk basketball with this guy, shooting the shit.
I got one quote, and I'm not putting in the preview because I just don't think it should be in there, but I think it's really funny. And I already shared it with you guys. You might get it right away. The way the season ended last year, I wanted to jump off the Prudential building. The Prudential building is located in Boston.
And
I believe I remember that's Frank Martin.
That's Frank Martin. He's one of the funniest guys I talked to this offseason. He is a wealth of
there were some teams last year that like we talked about this, like just completely gave up. I mean, just like not competitive for like 5-6 straight games, and you kind of tee up the conversation. It's like, coach, kind of tough stretch there last year. What do you think you learned, and where's your headspace at coming out of that going this year? You have to really.
Kai, I find that one especially interesting because like there was such a Frank Martin versus UMass fans thing last year. It's like, guys, he is likable.
Oh, yeah.
I know he's kind of like button heads
so
and there's going back and forth, but and I think he's self-aware too. Matt, to your point on teams that kind of like fell off at the end of the year, Stan Gerard at Southern Indiana, like not so subtly, and I didn't fully put this in the preview, but it was like, yeah, we had a lot of guys that since we didn't have postseason, like just started thinking about their next step at the end of the year.
Yep.
It's like mine started wandering, and like, first of all, I get it. Second of all, NCAA change that dumb rule. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
The transition rule. Yeah, Davenport is excited to be in the final season of that this year at Bellarmine.
So finally,
Yep.
okay, yeah.
Yes. All right, Matthew.
Let's continue. We're talking non-conference schedules now. MTEs.
Do it. Yeah, go by the Almanac.
Go by the Almanac. Do it now. Pause it.
Yeah, no,
go
do it right now.
and then
Seriously.
come back.
Yeah. We'll do a 10-second pause, a moment of silence for you to buy that. But in all seriousness, we probably should do a brief moment of silence for the tragedy that is occurring in our beloved island of Maui, which headlines every year the best of the MTE tournaments. This year, no exception. But for those not privy, there is some pretty serious wildfires running ablaze in the community of Lahaina, which, Jim, you have been to, I've been to, a near and dear place in our heart. So hospitable, especially for the almighty of MTE tournaments. But assuming that all clears and everyone is safe and we get all that brush cleared out in the next few months and we have a Maui tournament, I assume we will. Purdue, Kansas, Marquette, Tennessee, Gonzaga, UCLA, Chaminade, and Syracuse. Probably should have said Syracuse before Chaminade. But
Syracuse.
I'm like trying to bury the lead that we love Syracuse, and I'm trying to not share that anyone else should love Syracuse. But that is obviously the headliner there. The bracket is out. I've looked at it. KU versus Marquette second round could be delicious, especially because KU's got some good off season. I know. Shot making.
Yeah, and Tennessee, Purdue, maybe second round should be great. Can we shout out some schedule guys before we get started? Because I'm glad Jim put this in. D1 Docket. If you're not familiar with D1 Docket, I think it's one guy does a great job of wrangling schedules together and putting them out on the internet before anyone else has them, or at least one convenient place. He does a fantastic job. D1 Docket. Check his Twitter. I think he has a link on his profile to his big Google Doc.
Link on his Twitter to the blog that has a page for each conference. You can scroll to see each team. It's really well organized. He also has a Twitter thread going every time a team releases its official schedule. So right now, I believe it's at 78 tweets out of 362. Still early in the off season, relatively. But yeah, I think every year West Virginia is the first one. It's kind of fun. Like they are just on it.
They're excited.
Maybe that'll change with potential leadership changes at West Virginia.
Huggins hates scheduling, so he gets it done early and then he just sends it down the line. That's maybe what it was there.
So yeah, shout out to D1 Docket. He's great. Rocco Miller does a fantastic job of getting all the stuff, and he kind of tweets out little team specific graphics as they come together. And then Chris Daubertine's blogging the bracket website, which is how we did a lot of this MTE research. Gets everything on one page, links to every individual event, all the teams that are playing, the dates where it's at. Super, super helpful. So definitely want to make sure, like Kai said, to shout them out, considering we are using a lot of their research here.
No, it's huge. I wonder how KenPom even pulls all his schedule together for his site. I assume he has to kind of go through each of these sources and cobble it through.
I think he writes a script off team schedule sites.
Okay. That's impressive if he does, because not, as we found out the hard way, not every schedule or not every team page is like the same format. Most are, but some have their weird, like, why are you using that? It's like the sidearm sports to stat broadcast. Like, let's just all use stat broadcast. We don't need to use sidearm sports.
It's like somebody still using AOL as their email address. It's like
your Hotmail.
Come on.
It's like
what?
Google, adapt, change. But yeah, back to the MTE stuff. I mean, so Maui's the best of the bunch, and I think that field is like relative to the Maui greatness as good as it's going to.
Can I ask you if you guys prefer Maui with or without Chaminade? Do you like?
I'm a Chaminade guy. I like the tradition.
I like it.
I do.
I like it with.
I do.
It's a unique quirk.
And they're just good enough to where it's like, and I know they've been blown out before, but they've also competed in that context before. And it's sort of like a quasi home game, and they usually can shoot, and they're kind of a competitive, like they're D3, I think, right? So I kind of like that they're in it. It's not like a complete walkover team.
Yeah, their coach is awesome. Having covered them in person, he was great. The one thing I get bummed about is when I'm watching one of those games, I'm like, well, this is going to be deleted in the annals of history, because like non-D1 games don't count in terms of like NCAA resume and the stats on like a KenPom page. So I'm always like, it's fun that they're here, but I think I prefer when there's 8 teams. I mean, last year Louisville was in it, and they were arguably worse than Chaminade has been. So,
yeah,
maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, to be a team to fly to Maui and then play a non-D1 game, I guess, would be a little bit disheartening. Like, that feels like a waste of time. Well, speaking of Paradise MTEs, a few more here. Battle for Atlantis, our favorite battle of the ballroom. Notable teams include Arkansas, Villanova, Memphis, Texas Tech, North Carolina, Michigan, Stanford, and my mid-major drawing of the year, Northern Iowa. I think the theme amongst the power conference teams here, a lot of like fascinating storylines to these teams. Like, you could see all these teams going in very different directions. Really, really good, really, really struggle. With UNC and Villanova, Memphis, and kind of their roster retools, Texas Tech under McCaslin. Arkansas is always kind of can be a volatile non-conference team. Michigan, my goodness, is polarizing, in Stanford under the last hurrah of Jared Haas. I just think it's a fun field. Maybe not as good as it has been, but still really deep and fun. Interesting.
Yeah, I'll be betting on UNI versus North Carolina. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Also, I would not be shocked if Grant McCaslin comes out and beats Villanova. This is a classic roster versus coach matchup. Neptune and McCaslin. Villanova's awesome roster versus Texas Tech's on paper less than roster. Will be a fun field as well.
Hi, did you see North Carolina's non-conference schedule that they released today?
No, is it good?
It's really good. They play like 3 bye games to start the year, and then it's Atlantis, like 5 more power conference games, and then 1 bye game before they start league play. And it's like
risky.
Yeah, we're gonna see how that one goes. Risky indeed. Hubert could be condemning himself with that type of a schedule.
Hey, the ACC stinks now, so you gotta rack up some non-conference beef to help that resume.
It's a valid point.
It's a mid-major now. You gotta schedule get out of conference. I think the Arkansas Memphis fan base is colliding in an intimate small ballroom. Potentially could be a fun little drama-filled scene. So look out for that. I know Maui will never be topped, but like, do we like that ballroom? I like that ballroom. I like the vibes. I'm in on general. Yep.
Yeah. I really want to go there. I really do.
I think I like this next one more just because of the city destination, and the actual gymnasium is really cool too. I got a chance to check it out. I snuck around the volleyball ticketers at the Charleston Classic a year ago, College of Charleston. And they're hosting another phenomenal event this season. Houston, good team. Wake Forest, Dayton, St. John's, LSU, Utah. I'll pause there. All of those are like hopeful, fun, upside, glass half full power conference teams that maybe could make tournament if everything breaks right. But, kind of like very upstart type theme of those teams. And then they also have North Texas and Towson, 2 very good mid-majors. So I like that field. I actually almost rather go to that than I would to the Battle for Atlantis, just because of the venue and location.
Yeah, I'll take Atlantis, but it's way more expensive.
Kai, is Houston versus St. John's in the title game possibly there? Your 2 best coaches in the country. Sorry to apologies, but I know you love Sampson and Patino. I
do love Sampson and Patino. I think they're 2 of the best. I think Sampson's still 1 for me. But yeah, Self is right there too. That'll be great. St. John's has to get by Dayton, but Dayton might be still dealing with some injuries. We'll see. Houston should wipe the floor with their side of the bracket. But it is going to be a fun event. I would like to go to this. I'm sure. Well, flights coming down actually, so maybe I will. Hey, you never know.
The fun part about this, Kai, is you could do both because of the way Charleston is timed. It's like the early one. You could zip on down to Nassau after that. I have looked at doing that.
Get a little puddle jump for Kai.
Then I realized how poor I would be after doing that.
Well, again, staying in, like Jim saying poor, staying in Atlantis is like, it's brutally expensive. So
any Airbnb options? Any no Verbo?
The Weave needs a new contract before we do that. Let's say that much.
Yeah, we should just build our own satellite campus down there. A place I don't want to go just because I'm not a big Orlando guy. I think I went to Disney too many times as a youngster. I've just kind of been Orlando'd out. But the ESPN Events Invitational, sponsored by the pyramid scheme known as Advocare, still, Jim, or have they moved on to a new sponsor at this point?
No, it used to be the Advocare Invitational. They have rid themselves of that sponsorship.
But this field's great. I mean, FAU is the headliner for me and probably for most people. Good ball club this season. kind of a quasi semi home little nook down there in Florida. Texas A&M, Iowa State, two very good basketball teams, A&M especially. I love the VCU and Penn State inclusions as well. You kind of have the coaching carousel there with Rhodes and I'm blanking
Ryan
Odom. Thank you. Boise State, Butler, Virginia Tech are the other three teams. Butler is, maybe this is the bounce back resurrection year. Boise State, I think, is going to be really good again because Leon Rice is just good every year apparently now. And then Virginia Tech can still shoot the crap out of it. That's a fun tournament. I like this field. And it had some really ugly games last year. So I'm glad the field's better this year. But it's also just, I think, more offensive. I don't know though. What was the Memphis versus the ugly game last year?
Memphis Seton Hall, I believe.
Seton Hall,
a million fouls. Well, there was the year in Maui was in Vegas that had like 6 of the bottom 25 tempo teams in the country plus Chaminade. It was like, this is going to be a grind fest.
Boy, A&M FAU, that'll be fun. Second round.
Yes, second round
that game. Ooh.
Someone actually DM'd me about this, Kyle. I'll let that person remain anonymous, but there are odds on Caesars right now for this tournament. Texas A&M plus 220, FAU plus 300. Clearly expected those two to be on opposite sides of the bracket.
Yeah.
On the other side, you got Virginia Tech 7-1, Iowa State 7-1, Penn State 9-1, Boise 10-1. I guess not all of those are on the other side, but Iowa State, VCU, Boise, Virginia Tech. If you wanted to take a little dip, whichever one of those teams you like most could potentially get them to the final against either a VCU or either an FAU or Virginia Tech.
Yeah. I think the fun thing here, FAU
ever again. So
yeah, I'm not either.
Yeah, especially in the non-conference. The team rocks in the non-conference.
Yeah, look at their last 2 MTE performances. It's been pretty insane. Let's continue on. This is weird because seeing Charleston not at their own event is a little odd to me, but they are going not so far away to Myrtle Beach Invitational. Furman will be there, another local hero. Liberty, another mid-major hero. Wichita State, Wyoming, Vermont in that same theme. Coastal Carolina, the quasi de facto host, right? And then St. Louis.
It's fully host.
It's fully their host, right? It's their place. Gym. Yeah, it's at their gym, right? Yeah. With the cool little Chanticleer wheel looking thing. And then SLU, Kai, your Billikens. Fun field. I'm going to wager Liberty. No, Furman wins this. Jim, Furman wins this, right?
Charleston. I think Charleston wins it.
They're better than Furman next year? Okay.
I'm just kind of like the Pat Kelsey, like D2, D3 pipeline. Furman loses Boswell, Slauson. They're going to be really solid, but I think there's some upside with Charleston. Kai, this was the initial at the top of the episode, Matt. We talked a little SLU hoops because they just got a commitment from Mike Meadows.
Mikey Meadows, saw that. Yeah.
And my brother's friend, who's very pessimistic, just sent me this field and said 0-3 for the Bills. Just like
I agree. This is a terrible entrance for them because you're playing mid majors. So like going 0-3 looks worse than it really is because it's actually a bunch of really good mid majors. It's the worst possible place to go to. Yeah, I think Wyoming would be better than that show. I agree, but that'll be a competitive game.
How fun is Vermont, Charleston, and Furman Liberty? Last year would have been fantastic. Furman Liberty. I still think they're both going to be good. It's just a fun bracket. Hey, Wichita State. Don't sleep on Paul Mills, man. The guy's a great coach.
You almost just talked yourself into the Field of 68 Invitational, right?
Yeah, I know. Good segue here. Yeah. Well,
Charleston, Liberty, FAU, all the way, all down in Boca Raton.
They're great programs. Absolutely.
That'll be hosted. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Another fun one here, the Cayman Islands Classic. Where's the Cayman Islands, by the way? We're kind of by the Bahamas. I'm in like just one of the Caribbean. I mean, I know it's Caribbean. I just don't know where it is specifically. Always curious. Drake.
If you wanted to pin the island on the Caribbean Sea,
I think I'd need 10 pins to get it. Yeah,
I'm terrible at that.
They're all just kind of jumbled down there. I know Aruba's way south. So I'm going to Curacao pretty soon, Kai. Humble brag. So yeah, I know where the southern islands are going. But the rest are all in the same little mixed bag. Here you got Drake, Utah State, LMU, Stephen F. Austin, Akron, Marshall, FIU, Oakland. A lot of really, really good mid-majors. I think there is potentially, Utah State, what are they, a mid-major? There's 2 tournament teams in this field. Too many?
That's too.
Akron. People think Akron is going to be like the best Akron team that's John Gross has had since his Sweet 16 run. I think people think Drake's going to be awesome again because Tucker DeVries is like a pro prospect.
There's zero at larges though. I'll say that
Drake is good. They're not as good as last year. I will say that.
Fair.
Yes.
but they're good.
LMU's really good too.
Are they?
SFA is always good. Yeah, LMU's gonna be very
Marshall's
good.
Going to be solid, but not as good as last year.
Utah
It's a bunch
State's
of
got
like fringe
Danny
top
Sprinkle there
100
now.
to top 150 teams that I think
Still
would.
fun. Yeah,
It's just fun.
I'm not going to call it quite like a sickos tournament, but it is like
a
a
little bit. Yeah,
fanatics tournament where the standard person's not going to care, but it's like, yeah, I'll watch Danny Sprinkle's Utah State against Kyle Keller's SFA. Sure, give me that game.
Why not?
It's a bracket busters extraordinaire. All right, we'll stay in Paradise. Going to the Paradise Jam, which is located where as our next MT to highlight here?
The Virgin Islands.
The Virgin Islands. Speaking of places I can't pinpoint in my Caribbean map. Some fun teams here as well. Similar, I'd say, caliber, maybe a slight step down. Fordham.
I think this is less fun.
Big step down. Yeah, I guess what's the outlook of this team relative to last year? It's tough to quickly discern the drop off for improvement. But Fordham, Kent State, Missouri State, San Jose State. Just pause right there. All those teams awesome last year. Probably going to be a little bit worse this season. So you're right, Jen. Maybe not as exciting. Norfolk State, Florida Gulf Coast, Hampton, and Abilene Christian. You kind of lose. You can sense the air coming out of the balloon as you get down that line. But still fun. And again, definitely in that bracket buster type of hoop junkie.
I had multiple coaches in the Missouri Valley. Multiple. Say Missouri State was their favorite team this year in the conference, which surprised me a little bit. I know. I agree.
Ahead of Drake and Northern Iowa. Wow.
Ahead of Drake and Northern Iowa. I was surprised. And Gulf Coast is going to be super good.
I think Gulf Coast will be awesome too. Yeah. Patty Chambers is going to get that thing going. I'm with you on that one. Missouri State. That I'd like to dive deeper into that. It's interesting.
I know.
Not a fun team to watch, but they are pretty good. They can guard. Florida Gulf Coast will not be at their own showcase at the Gulf Coast Showcase, our final of the fun Paradise type MTEs.
The 8-team ones. Final of the 8-team ones.
The 8-team. Thank you. Wright State, Iona, Louisiana, Hofstra, Illinois State, Buffalo, Long Beach State, High Point. Yeah, the Iona thing's fun with Tobin coming there replacing Patino. That's probably like the top narrative heading into that field.
Well, you're in love with Hofstra after you pulled Speedy Claxton in the Jeopardy final round.
Speedy Claxton's my guy now. Got to support Speedy for sure. So, I have a lot of pride in my pride. And then I think High Point, Alan Huss, the former Mr. McDermott's assistant in Creighton, come down and starting up his own shop in a fun little rich program, I should say, Kai. So yeah, some fun stuff here.
Yeah, maybe the uglier tournament there. Can I go breaking news for you guys?
Absolutely.
Since we are a Chicago State podcast, Gerald Gillian has landed former 5-star twins, Matt and Ryan Bewley, the biggest recruits in program history by a mile. Wow.
Is
they're
it
like 6'9" power forwards.
Is it wrong of me that if they're former 5-stars that I've never heard of them?
Yeah, I never heard of them either. I never heard of them either. But I will call that a win for Chicago State. Where
are they coming from?
Independent program.
Overtime at Northeast
I guess,
High,
maybe.
then West Oaks, and last 2 seasons at Overtime Elite. Yeah. So okay. But hey,
huge.
Let's rock Chicago State.
I was just at the Illinois driver facility, which is actually on the Chicago State campus. Fun facts for no one tell, Kai and Jim, local boys. And there was a buzz in the air. So maybe the locals there knew something was coming. And now that we're just finally hearing the bomb drop, very exciting for a program that is quickly ascending up the ladder. Let's hit the 4-team MTEs. A lot of familiar names here. The Empire Classic, NIT season
really
tip-off, both in the Northeast corridor. Yeah, UConn, Indiana, Texas, and then Louisville feels lost in that Empire 4-teamer. Good luck to Mr. Payne. I hope you are able to at least compete and hold your own. I have worries against those 3 teams for sure. Especially seeing, I'm not sure the UConn scores overseas. I'm not sure if they played, but they won every game by 50 points, and everyone looks awesome, and they might just be really good again. NIT season tip-off: Baylor, Florida, Pitt, Oregon State. And no, we're not going to make fun of Oregon State
no, we won't,
because Oregon State deserves much more respect. It's a better program.
Yes,
it's a program I like more. And I hope they win that one. They won't though. Baylor's going to probably win that one, right? Florida, maybe. Probably Baylor.
That'd be a big win for Florida's tournament hopes for sure. If they
Gators had a real tough time at PK 80 or PK 85 last year.
Oh yeah,
a better showing in their MTE when they got wiped out by West Virginia. That was brutal.
The Children's Invitational Iowa, Oklahoma, Seton Hall, USC. Kind of a fun contrast of styles. Oklahoma, Iowa there, and then USC is still my darling team. And this should be one of the first times we see USC on like the bright stage. I think they have one game maybe before.
Are you claiming USC as your darling team? Come on.
No. I'm saying no. Sorry, I'm saying I think this is one of the first times we'll see USC in like the bright lights, where it's like the Bronny James hype. You know, this team's really good. Isaiah Collier, 5-star freshman. If he plays, we don't know if that's going to play. But this will be kind of the first time that they get some national buzz. So some intrigue from that respect. The Bahamas Championship featuring Miami U, the Canes, and then Kansas State, Jerome Tang, Jimmy Larinaga potential duel. And your boy Kimmy English, Providence there as well. And then Georgia, Mike White. That's a fun little field.
I'm crossing my fingers that Larinaga and Tang run circles around Mr. English. Come on. I need to see it.
I know, but English has been good in non-con the last couple of years. He's like kind of had that knack for getting those big wins when he needs them.
Go look at his MTE performance last year. Go look at his MTE performance last year.
They were bad last year. That's right. They were bad. That's right. They were bad. You're excited about that. They beat
that's right.
They beat Maryland and Maryland.
Boston College, Belmont, and Buffalo.
Yeah,
you can excuse two of those losses, maybe.
Yeah, you can't. Not all three, though. I agree. Not all three. Yeah. The Fort Myers tip-off. Really good field here. Wisconsin, Virginia, West Virginia, and SMU. SMU is kind of the outcast here, but I don't think they'll be horrible.
Is Westphal very good?
I think Westphal's still going to be solid. Like, obviously, with all the stuff that's happened this offseason, again, another fun narrative to track there. They may not look like a very good version at this point in the season. So actually, that could go awry too. This feels like one Wisconsin, Virginia will have to come out on top of, and that'll be a 55 to 52,
Matt, they have
110 total.
Two different 82-point games against each other.
It's happened twice?
Twice. I made fun of it on Twitter, and somebody was like, "You're forgetting about this one too." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's absurd." So hopefully we get that, and they score sub 90 again. I would love to see it.
Yeah, we need to get Charlotte and North Texas in this field next year, and swap out West Virginia and SMU.
Charlotte's not pack line anymore, man.
I guess they're different now. No one's.
Yep.
Pretty sure there won't be any slow teams. And everybody wants to run these days, Kai. Speaking of fun, up-tempo teams at the Emerald Coast Classic, you'll find Alabama, pretty fast team. Santa Clara, not as fun as last year because there's no AirPods, but a team that likes to get up and down and gallop. Oregon and Ohio State, I think both on the quest for redemption this season. I think both teams we think will be much improved. Thoughts on that one quickly? I skipped over one of those here on my list here, but
I'm tired of overrating Oregon the last several years. So
I am tired of underrating Santa Clara. So I handshake with you on that one. Let's try and not try and do that this season.
And I'm tired of overrating Ohio State's defense.
Yes.
Play it 1 year, please. Figure it out.
No, this will be the year they play. It's like LSU. They sucked defense for 5 years, and then 1 year they were just unstoppable at defense. It's like,
I'll be back on the Ohio State train most likely.
Yeah, I think it will be too.
They had some pretty bad luck last year.
At the Continental Tire main event, which is where again? This is West Coast. Phoenix, I want to say?
Yeah, this is Vegas.
Vegas. Desert.
Vegas.
St. Mary's, San Diego State. Right there's pretty good. Xavier. And Washington. Mike Hopkins and Washington.
Paul Mulcahy.
Who apparently is thrilled with his, he loves it out there at the Apple State. So yeah, I would like to see Washington. I don't like that I have like 5 or 6 teams I want to see lose, but I would like to see Washington get the doors blown off. I would enjoy that.
So San Diego State and St. Mary's finished 13-14 in Ken Palm last year. 2 awesome defenses. They played each other. St. Mary's won on a neutral by 7. I'd like to get that game again. Those two are just going to be a brawl.
Behind the scenes, Jim, didn't you pose who do you think is better this season, St. Mary's or San Diego State, which is a very tough riddle to solve. So yeah, we'll get that question answered in a one-game format here.
They're both always good, man.
They're both always good. Moving on down the Asheville Championship back in the Carolina neck of the woods, Clemson and Davidson are the local programs there. Maryland comes to town. UAB comes to town. Maryland's been awesome so far. It reads like, and they're 4 and stuff. Maybe they're going to be. They were. They killed SLU last year. They killed somebody else in that MTE. So maybe Kevin Willard does a little repeat trifecta domination to start off the non-con slate there.
Clemson's like the sneaky darling because of how awesome their offense is going to be. Like if you're looking at like KenPom pages, there's just going to be bright like a Christmas tree, but they might not be very good defensively, which is such a weird thing to say about Brownell teams.
Yep. Yeah, he's kind of evolved. He really has. And then we head to the Hall of Fame Classic. Really good teams here. Creighton, Colorado State, who will be really good this year. At large, good, probably not, but very good. True? I think they'll be very good.
Yeah.
Stevens just buying on Stevens back. Stevens is awesome.
I mean, last year they're down to like 7 guys for half the year.
Yeah. I'm giving the same Wyoming, Colorado State, where it's like they were not that bad last year. They were just really, really injured. Creighton, Colorado State, Boston College, and our Loyola Chicago Ramblers. Boston College, again, underscoring that Quentin Post is my guy this year. No one is a bigger fan of Quentin Post than me. So hoping to see him go for 20-10 in what will probably amount to 2 losing efforts.
Yeah, you talk about bounce back. Loyola is an enormous bounce back candidate.
Need one. I saw T.O. give Quentin Post some big love. Our guy, Terrence Oglesby, some big love on Twitter recently. So, yep.
It's just sort of a punchline because he plays for Boston College, and I don't know how good is he really, but I think he's actually a good player. Not Winston Tabbs good, but still very good. Vegas showdown, back to the desert we go. NC State making the cross-country trip out there. BYU in their first Big 12 rodeo will make an appearance. Vanderbilt and Arizona State. Arizona State retooling a lot of pieces. Interesting field. Best team is probably...
It's a math field for me.
NC State?
I think it's probably NC State, but maybe BYU.
Okay, you're right.
That was
BYU, sure.
The list episode, I like really talked myself into BYU. It's like, I like their shooting. I like their front court. Crap, do I love BYU?
I like him every year. I like Mark Pope too much, probably. I still think he's a great coach. And then we continue with our final 4-teamer, the Legends Classic. 4 legendary programs, of course, when you talk Auburn, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Micah Shrewsbury debut, which could go really, really bad.
They're the worst team in this field.
It could be ugly to start.
That roster is brutal, man.
Although the last team, Jim, St. Bonaventure, we said the exact same thing about last year, and they were extra feisty in non-conference, far from a pushover. I'm inclined to believe Micah Shrewsbury and his whole mantra makes that team somewhat although realistically not very good. Because I don't know how they got no players.
It might have been Tanner McGrath. I'm not sure. Somebody tweet that like they profile like a team that's going to get bludgeoned in the non-con and then be mega feisty as like a home dog in league play. I was like, I kind of buy that narrative.
I kind of buy that.
Like Ben Johnson's first year at Minnesota.
Yeah, basically.
I'm not a big Julian Roper guy. Not a big
as your alpha in the ACC.
Was he like the 3rd, 4th banana in Northwestern, 5th?
I will say
I think he was like 10th banana, right? I don't know. Yeah.
One of my like meaner, stronger takes on the Titus pod was about how Notre Dame's roster is just completely glaringly lacking talent and experience. And like I said, I was supporting Shrewsbury, but saying like this year could be rough. But Julian Roper liked the video of it that the Titus.
Oh, did he really?
So wow. He's got the bulletin board material, baby.
The ammo has been loaded.
Kind of love that.
I saw Matt Zona stayed around.
Julian Roper
Matt Zona left. Huh.
I'm a Julian Roper fan.
Kai, Julian Roper, Matt Quinton Post, Jim. Who's your author?
He's active on social media, so now I am.
Okay, good. Well played. The on-campus matchups, I think is what we're most excited. This is what we want to see more of, if we're being realistic about this. I think the MTEs generally have a very, sometimes kind of a hackish type of vibe to them. Some, not all, but I think the on-campus stuff is where
we didn't dive into these fully, to be fair, but I did want to highlight one of them, Matthew.
Yeah, the fact that this one is going to be a home and home, Matt, your boys.
Florida Atlantic, Charleston, Liberty. What?
Jesus, take the hint.
You said my boys.
Oh, Duke is your boys. You are a Duke fan.
Boys.
You're not having an FAU Arizona pennant behind you.
Yeah, well, and actually, I need to reorder my. Yeah. It's like my fan base priorities relocate every day. Delta State, by the way, shouts to Delta. Arizona going to Duke. I love the Caleb Love return to the place where he has been. He's been a Duke killer in his history. So I gotta think he's all the way locked in for that cross country trip to Durham. How good will Arizona be right off the bat? I think is a big question. Like, I think they're going to be really good, but then I think there's also major questions when you put Caleb Love at the forefront of your offense. And that date is when? That's a late November date, right? I think that's notable though, because Arizona early November versus Arizona late November could be very different. I really believe that, just because Love is such a
awesome game.
It's gonna be a great game.
Can't wait.
Duke wins, but great game.
Yeah, but maybe, gosh, as good as I think Duke is next year, this Arizona team is really experienced.
Jeff Goodman, apparently not a top 25 team.
You don't have your spreads ready yet, but I feel like that's going to be like Duke minus 7.5.
It's a big number, Kai. Exactly. It is. It's like close to 10, maybe. No, it's not that high. But no, I think that's a game where Duke wins comfortably. We'll say that. I'm not going to say it's a blowout, but I think they win comfortably.
It is November 10th.
I'll take plus
7. Ooh, yeah, I think that even. Yeah, okay. I kind of think Duke takes care of business there. But yeah, back to my other boys, the Field 68 tip-off, which I guess we're sort of company men, so we're obligated to highlight this, but it's going to legitimately be an awesome little function. The round robin at FAU between Florida Atlantic, Charleston, Liberty. I hope this is an annual recurring theme, and I think FAU wins it, despite a scare from both Charleston and Liberty, who are both going to be really good.
Yeah, by far the best team.
Yeah. I believe it is going to be annual, where they're going to play the next 3 years at each campus site.
Each place. So starting at FAU makes sense. Love it. Neutral site games. Palm Springs, Jim, you've been there. Fun little bougie desert oasis just outside of close to LA, basically. Yeah,
kind of wildest airport I've ever been, where it's just the most cocky, like, hey, half the gates are outside, half the concourses are outside. It was like, it's not going to rain. Don't worry about it. It's just going to be perfect every day. Deal with it. Like, okay. Yeah,
just great. Like Chicago. As I see some drizzle coming outside. Arizona, Michigan State. Arizona has did they have the hardest schedule of all of the big boys? Like, a lot of the big boys are playing a lot of good teams, but I feel like Arizona has the best of the best.
Those are two of the toughest games in the country. Neutral Michigan State at Duke.
Sheesh. Yeah, Jason Shear tweeted out their whole, like, the timeline and the travel. It's going to be a bear for the Wildcats. I think Arizona wins this game personally.
Oh, I think Michigan State does. They're wow. They do bring back a ton. It is a big travel for them, but Izzo's teams typically play a monster of a non-con too.
They've
true. They play Baylor in Detroit. They've got Duke Champions Classic in Chicago. They've got this one, and I believe a few games still to be released. But man, yeah,
no airplane hangar or carrier this year. We're done with that finally.
Yeah, just the auto bet under, no matter how low the total is. Yeah,
good. Yeah. Let's salute our troops in another way. You don't need to play a game on their ships. I don't remember when that.
Hawaii, or it was in Hawaii, like Villanova and Oklahoma played at like that small gym,
like the broken ceiling fans rotating at the top.
Incredible.
Yes. That was cool. I like that too. In an actual gym. What a concept. Yes, I agree. Indoors.
Do you think Arizona's better than Michigan State this year? Just curious for your thoughts.
No. I think they win this game though. I don't know. I think Michigan State's probably a little. I trust Michigan State more, I guess, is how I'll frame that. Kind of a cop-out answer. I think Michigan State is a slightly better team than Arizona this year. Boom, bang, gavel. And I feel in no way confident.
You think Michigan State is much worse than Duke?
No, I don't think that. I think Duke at home in that game. Yeah,
3 points
ish. I think you're trying to poke some holes in my logic here. I'm willing to defend myself. Continue your interrogation.
Top 5 team for sure this year. I've kind of established that.
I think that's where I have them rated.
And I don't think Arizona's top 10.
I think
let's move on.
Top 10. We're moving on to the Gavitt games.
Let's wrap up. Let's wrap up.
That's we should wrap up here. St. John's and Michigan names both popping up here again. Michigan going to St. John's. Rick Pitino hosting Juwan Howard. I think St. John's wins that game.
Be a great
game.
Good one though.
That's at the Garden. I will double check.
I hope so. God, it better be.
I know Pitino's trying to play as many home games as possible at the Garden instead of Carnesecca. Yeah,
I do like the Carnesecca arena, but I think I'm with Pitino on the let's just play them all at the Garden or play as many as we can there. It's a cool venue, especially with him there. It'll be better. They'll actually put butts in seats. Marquette at Illinois will be a fun one. I'm tired of Illinois fans whining about how they can't watch your team play abroad. So you could actually watch this game, Illinois fans. So congratulations. I think you actually
the
lose
environment is awesome there. If you've never been to Champaign,
yeah, you've been
fantastic. Both games I've gone to though, they've lost. So
great environment. It's
easily
bottom 3.
Got kind of blown out last couple of times.
Oh, that's right. Indiana killed them. Yeah,
smoked them. Oh man, it wasn't even close.
Still
you saw Illinois lose at
Big Ten.
Marquette also. You're just a terrible luck charm for Illinois.
And I've been to bragging rights when Mizzou's won.
Wow.
The
Illini
Orange
fans, boo this man.
Crusher.
Boo this man.
Yeah.
And then finally, Iowa at Creighton. Well, that's a fun one, folks.
Yeah. Scoring.
I wish it was
Xavier
Creighton
Purdue
of like 4
also.
years ago when Creighton didn't play defense.
Yeah,
but now Kalkbrenner wants to play defense. All right.
Now they want to guard people.
Yeah.
All right, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
And then Xavier at Purdue will obviously be fantastic as well. Sean Miller going into the Lions Den that is Mackey Arena, and Zach Edey. They have some frontline injuries. That actually could be a bloodbath in Purdue's favor, just a sneak peek there. And we're going to do a quick ode to the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which is no longer, which is BS, I would say. I think more of these cross-conference things need to exist.
Maybe they will. Maybe they will once all this realignment settles. But
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, an 18-game series between the ACC and the Big Ten, however many teams end up in both conferences. But the ACC, if they're talking to Cal, Stanford, and SMU, that would put them at 18, Kai. It could happen. 18 on 18. Let's go.
Yeah.
Games are coming soon, folks. So stay tuned for those. How many? 3 months away now? August, September, October, November. It's less than 3. Wild. Yeah, college football starts like in 2 weeks, which is still crazy to me. So, well, I assume many of you may go off into your college football cocoon for a few weeks. Please make sure to come back out when college basketball starts up in November, as we just highlight some of the key matchups in the Turkey month. Final thoughts from Weavers before we sign off today.
TBD on guest next week. We're still hoping.
Is that still a surprise guest? Are we still kind of okay? Good.
Yeah. I will be in Europe a week from today, going to see our boy Ashok. Right. So I will be missing at least one episode. But when I get back, Kai, it's preview season. Mid-major extravaganza will be the week of August 30th. And then from there, once a week leading up to the season, conference preview. So get excited for that.
Getting closer.
That's all we have. And if everyone wants to help us get in contact with the coaches, feel free to offer your services pro bono. We'd love that as we try and put a bow on this Almanac Volume 2.
Any close friends of Penny Hardaway, please reach out.
I'm giving up on Steve Lavin. I'm just trying to find a doctor quote somewhere out there I can put in and say I talked to him. But alas, is the challenge. We will see you all next week with hopefully our surprise guest. Until that time, take care.